Is my brain broke or am I just too literary? We think that we could do so much better. How could you mess it up this bad? It's like there's no one else in the room while you write out of your ass. Is my brain broke or am I just too literary? Am I insane, bro, or am I just too literary? Too literary.
Welcome to We're Too Literary, the show where we identify as experts.
But we're not.
As we deep dive into the world of cinema, uncovering plot holes, dissecting character arcs, laughing at the absurdities, and spoiling the shit out of everything you love and hold dear. I'm your host, Kenny.
And I'm Jonathan. And each week we'll take a critical yet humorous look at both the classics and the latest releases. Whether you're a film fanatic or love a good laugh, join us as we navigate the twists and turns of movie magic gone awry and give you our ideas on how we'd like to do it. Are our brains broke?
Or are we just too literary?
Too literary.
Welcome back, everybody, to another wonderful episode of We're Too Literary, where this week we're finally here for it. We're finally ready to talk about it. What are we talking about this week, Jonathan?
We are talking about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah,
Oof,
buddy.
It's been a long time coming.
Finally.
Hell, we did an episode earlier this year based on the trailer.
Yeah, just the trailer. And shoot, we should have checked that.
I was thinking that. I was just thinking that. Maybe we pause it, go watch, collect our notes. But now, we're winging this thing. All steam ahead. Good stuff.
All right. Full steam ahead.
Goodbye.
That's fine. Okay. So, yeah. We're here to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. This has been, like you said, a long time coming. Did it live up to my expectations? Pretty much, yeah. It was what I expected of it, but there might have been a little more I could have gotten out of it.
I would say it didn't live up to what I expected. If I think about it, if I actually think about it, I mean, Deadpool 1 and 2 were, in my opinion, like amazing movies, incredibly well done.
Yeah,
because I mean they were fan service, but they also weren't. They told a good story. They were exciting, but Deadpool and Wolverine almost felt like it was just a fan service film in some ways. And that's where like the story kind of fell apart for me. There's just some elements in there. I'm like, that just seems weird. It doesn't work for me.
Out of all of the elements of the movie, I would say for me, the biggest part that was lacking was actually the story. As far as like what the plot was, I get it. There was a plot, but I also think that didn't live up to its predecessors. It on its own, it's good, but there needed to be more. It was a little too easy as far as like the villain was concerned. Things didn't really. I saw article headlines that were talking about how Cassandra Nova was terrifying and how she was the scariest villain in the MCU so far. And I was like, yeah, I mean, she's a little.
She's the creepiest with the little finger thing in the head.
Yeah,
and like molesting your face.
Yeah.
And your brain.
And all that. She was weird. She was certainly creepy.
Agreed.
But was she the scariest villain in the MCU? No, I actually felt significantly more dread with, frankly, Thanos. Whether I would say that he was terrifying, he was the one that made me feel like a lot of hope was lost. And so, yeah, Cassandra didn't do that for me. And so I felt like her arc as the villain didn't really do much for me. It just didn't.
I get it. And
yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed her. I thought she was well done. But I would almost say just all these villains just always kind of fall a little flat.
She was very underutilized, I think. Like, she had some big moments, but I feel like just her presence didn't leave me with any kind of concern about what was going to happen, right? I was more caught up in just the rekindling of Deadpool and Wolverine's team up. They're unpacking a whole lot there with their histories and also just trying to like get along. That is what consumed most of my thoughts during the movie, was just like, how is this going to eventually pan out that they're, going to get in sync, and no pun intended, because of the intro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was where my head was mostly caught up throughout pretty much the whole storyline, was just trying to figure out where it was going to lead with them being a team for any part of it, frankly.
And they took forever to finally team up. And I mean, it was funny at first. Like, I was amused. The movie is hilarious. There's a lot of like enjoyable parts like that, but some of the ideas of it just took too fucking long to pan out. Things that didn't need to be there, like Deadpool and Wolverine fighting each other repeatedly. You could have probably cut one of them out entirely, or cut them all down by a third or something. Make them a little tighter. Like, yes, I get it. These are two immortal beings almost that can just stab the shit out of each other and, grow back.
Yep.
I don't need to keep watching them stab each other again and 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 again.
And speaking of which, I want to point out one thing that I've never quite understood about these comics in general. Kind of do this, right? And yet the same, they're doing the same thing for the movies, for the shows. It applies the same, and that is, they were cutting and slicing and chopping the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And yet their costumes never really reflected the damage more than a little bit at any given point in time.
And I kept looking for that. After like the first or second fight, I was like looking at the costume and be like, okay, they've been stabbed repeatedly. Where the hell are all these holes?
Exactly.
And maybe that's why Wolverine no longer has the fucking sleeves on his costume. Like, 'cause I'm pretty sure when they wake up in the car, or they show the car driving away, he still has his sleeves on then.
Yeah.
But then when it goes to Deadpool waking up in the house or whatever, that little cave, he no longer has the sleeves on. Like, where the fuck they go?
Why don't they come back?
Yeah.
It's very deliberate detail like that, because Iron Man's suit gets fucked up all the time. Like, you see partial mask removal, or, maybe not the arm pieces or something like that. But it's like granted, it dismantles, but it just almost seems like every time there's any damage done to a costume, it's just immediately undone. And it was funny. That was just funny to me, because it's basically like the cartoons and the shows and everything, where they got all damaged up and half the time it looked like nothing happened to them, or the other half of the time, again, they just, for whatever reason, deliberately chose to make that part of the storyline. So it made more sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably saved on drawing, though. Or animating.
Yeah. Lots of CGI work would be required there.
So, not to really... This isn't really a nitpick just as much as it is an analysis of the movie, but there were several points that we kind of wanted to go over, and starting off just timeline nonsense. Shit's getting confusing anymore to me, man. Honestly, it's how things transitioned in the beginning of the movie, back and forth, didn't really... I got lost, even though we're only going from the sacred timeline to Deadpool 2's timeline.
Agreed. But at the same time, I mean, I think Deadpool 2 established that Cable comes back from the future of Deadpool's world to change things. So he has a time traveling device, which then Deadpool uses to, I thought, just go through time and do some funny little bits like kill Ryan Reynolds before he can do Green Lantern, go back and kill the original Deadpool in the, what was it called? Wolverine movie.
Yeah, X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah. These funny little things. And they also say Vanessa, which we then see Vanessa is now alive. So great. But I take a time travel device that then allows him to go through different universes. Because, yes, as you said, he jumps over to Earth 616 to apply for the Avengers in 2018 via Happy Hogan, who very kindly turns him down and tells him to, kick rocks. So,
quick side note, I hope that Happy Hogan kind of becomes like the new Stan Lee, so to speak, where he just appears in every flippin' Marvel movie going forward.
That would be awesome.
I wasn't expecting him, so it was wasn't
expecting that. There's a number of cameos I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, there were, and some of them were awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it got confusing in the beginning because it's like you're going from Earth 10,005 to Earth 616 and then back to 10,005. And that's where we're living. And I'm trying, let me look it up real quick. I don't remember what timeline Deadpool 1 and 2 was. Was it Sacred Timeline?
No. It would be all the same timeline.
Would it?
10,005.
Okay. We're Sacred Timeline, we're 10,005, back and forth. So I'm pretty sure it went starting in 616 because it's a little bit of a brief introductory flashback, and then it jumps to him having the interview with Hogan, and then he goes back to 10,005, and then that's where we stay for the rest of the film.
For the most part, yes.
So, yeah. Anyway, it was just a little confusing. And then the other thing that they introduced that I thought was a little weird was anchor beings.
Anchor beings.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anchor beings. So did they answer the question that there could be more than one in the same timeline, or is there only one?
Well, they didn't really answer that question. The question wasn't really asked. I would figure there should be multiple ones, but maybe there can only be one. But it seems like such a poorly designed plot element to be like, oh, this universe is anchored by this one being who, if they die, causes everything to unravel and the universe goes away.
In a roundabout way, it feels like a Truman Show sort of thing, where by defining an anchor being for a timeline would suggest that there are enough timelines potentially for every person in existence to be an anchor being for their timeline.
Okay, but people die all the time. I mean,
right.
Like, what if a normal human is the anchor being? They live 80 years and then they're dead, then the universe unravels. Like, I have a huge issue with this anchor being concept, and I would have scrapped that whole thing.
That's what I'm saying, though, right? Is it's weird to think that there's like that possibility, because the concept of this is that there's the prime timeline, right? And then there's all the branching existing timelines off of that. And that could literally go on for infinity. I don't see a reason why it couldn't branch out so that but if it's selectively doing that, I don't know. You're right. I kind of agree that was an interesting thing to introduce, because it really fractures the realism of a potential, I don't know, like a threat even, if there's going to be the possibility of just that one person dying and then your whole timeline's going to slowly deteriorate until it's nothing.
Agreed.
It's like, what's the point?
Correct. Well, and it's just like, you fucking die all the time. Logan wasn't going to live forever. Like, it's not like some external element took Logan out. Like, he was growing old and weak,
Yeah.
and yes, he fought way more than he should have and ended up dying. It was a great finale. That movie, I love the Logan movie. It was outstanding.
Yeah.
But like the idea that, oh, he's dead, that's going to cause the universe to fade away, just is ridiculous. I mean, I would have changed it. I would have just made Paradox a rogue element in the TVA a little bit more than he already is, because he's already a rogue element, and that he's trying to speed up the deterioration and prune the universe quickly so he doesn't have to spend 1,000 years watching it, and just make him be somebody who, still believes in pruning timelines. And so this is a variant that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
And he tries to prune them.
Right. Yeah, instead of
some anchor being bullshit. Because, I mean, to me, it falls apart because then you look at the MCU and be like, okay, was Tony Stark the anchor being, and now that universe is going to fade away.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe, maybe they're using this to set up Secret Wars, and like somehow that is what's happening, and they're going to change it. Like they're going to rewrite the rules of time and get rid of anchor beings or some bullshit.
Maybe. Yeah, I agree with you, though. I think that the anchor beings was a weird choice, and that they could have just as easily gotten away with using a time ripper just for the sake of saying, like you said, I don't like this timeline, I'm going to rip it. Instead of it being like, oh, I'm going to mercy kill them because they're just going to go away anyway. It's like, why? And apparently there was no clear understanding of how long each timeline that is deteriorating would take to do so.
Yeah.
It sounded like that varied whether or not it was going to be, you get a couple thousand more years or you get 3 weeks. I don't know.
It was weird.
Yeah.
I'm going to take back my slight previous statement.
Okay.
It's all Wade's fault. All the fucking shit he did at the end of Deadpool 2, jumping around in time, fucking with shit, has caused his universe to become unstable, and that's causing it to deteriorate. And then you have the rogue TVA Paradox, who is trying to just mercy kill it right away.
Yeah. Honestly, would have been a little bit more
I like that, yeah.
fun as a villain point of view too, because that is kind of just straight evil, as opposed to being like, how would I describe this? Maybe it's like Mr. Paradox based on anchor beings is lawful evil, whereas Paradox based on just pruning the timeline as he sees fit is chaotic evil. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Because just willy-nilly choosing timelines to pop is pretty evil and unnecessary, which makes it a little less lawful in that sense, I think. I don't know. But yeah, it's better off going the other direction where you just choose to prune. The Time Ripper was definitely an interesting ad. I thought the whole TVA bit was, I don't know, just a funny nod to messing with time still. They really, really overused it. They really just overused it a lot. I think that there's just been too much time shenanigans and we need to take some time away from it. But I guess that's not going to happen with this whole introduction of Robert Downey Jr. as the new Doctor Doom. They're going to have to fuck with time somehow to make that seem possible.
Well, he's going to be, I'm assuming, a Doctor Doom of a different universe.
Yeah.
And
although it almost seems like it's Victor Von Doom, right?
Yes. He's supposed to be playing Victor Von Doom.
Right.
Not a Doctor Doom Tony Stark.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering if they're going to try and mess around with a little bit, is a Tony Stark Doctor Doom variant. But yeah, either way, the Time Ripper was just kind of a nifty idea, but even during its activation towards the end, you didn't really see it doing anything other than powering up and a loading bar.
Well, and you saw maybe it was Cassandra's powers doing it, but you saw like the universe being like torn apart by like threads, kind of like it does in
Yeah,
Loki. I wasn't
right.
sure if that was Cassandra doing that or if that's just how the device works. I think
Yeah,
that's
I'm not
probably how
sure.
the device works if it's ripping apart the universe at its seams, so to speak.
Yeah. And with them doing you could stop, you guys can stop this, but not without one of you dying, right? And
Yeah.
I did really appreciate the reference once they get to that point of trying to shut down the Time Ripper and everything, that they did the whole Spock Kirk bit
Yes.
where he swaps with him and then does the whole on the glass. And
Yeah.
but yeah, they get in there, and obviously the power of two beings with the craziest level of regeneration possible, managing to avoid being split into nothing but atoms.
It was impressive.
Was that was actually kind of a fun way to wrap it up. I mean, granted, I still think that there should have been a more interesting boss fight, if you will. The way that they did complete the final battle was still fun. It's just, it was weird that it like was right before Deadpool Corps just came through, and it was like that kind of played the role of that one last fight scene of
Correct. Where
insanity.
Blade and everybody else is there at the compound.
No, after that with the Deadpool Corps, with all the Deadpools.
Okay. See, I would think more of the fight in the Ant-Man helmet compound as the kind of final boss fight against Cassandra.
Okay.
Because that's kind of where they defeat her. And then, yes, the final is her being hooked up to the machine and them, shutting it down, destroying her.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess it does kind of all end up being that one part of the act, right? Is that all of that leads up to that final bit. But it felt a little underwhelming to me. The fight itself was awesome. So like all the cameos that we got were splendid, right?
Yes.
I enjoyed every single one of them, from Chris Evans as the Human Torch,
yes,
to
Wesley Snipes as Blade.
Wesley Snipes as Blade.
Jennifer Gardner come back as Elektra.
Yep.
You had, and it was referenced repeatedly, you had Channing Tatum show up as Gambit. He had tried so fucking hard to make that movie, and it never happened. And they make references to that throughout.
Yeah. And I can see why that one didn't necessarily pan out. I really appreciated him playing the character, but I was hard pressed to take on the accent.
The Cajun accent was rough. Real fucking rough. But I loved it. I'd watch a Gambit movie with Channing Tatum.
Oh, absolutely. At this point, totally. In fact, letting him do what he did in the final fight was just a great homage to Gambit. It was so fun to finally see what it would actually look like if he were to be throwing these cards into people and hitting them with his bow staff.
Yeah.
All of that. It was really awesome to actually see it like tied in with real world injury, as opposed to just being like, oh, you got hit and you got knocked over. Instead, it's like straight up people's heads were exploding. Yeah. But the Cajun accent was, he did his best, and I give him all the credit for it, because it was good enough. It was good enough. I have to admit that Gambit's Cajun accent is really, really tough to mimic, though. Like watching the original animated series. Yeah. No. Not going to embarrass myself like that.
Nope.
But watching the original X-Men animated series and hearing the original voice actor for Gambit, even sometimes I can't understand him still, because that's just how like strong that accent was.
Agreed.
And yeah, it was great. But like seeing Wesley Snipes come back as Blade was hilarious to me. I was not expecting that at all, but it actually makes more sense because I went back and I made sure I understood what the problem was in the original Blade trilogy that made him so difficult to work with. And it was actually the director. The director, Goyer. David Goyer, he and Wesley Snipes did not get along. So that's where that came from. So I never thought he would reprise his role as Blade. And when he did, I was so happy.
Yeah.
Well, it was so cool to see him again.
Amusing, because then you think of the third Blade movie, which
Trinity.
was it Trinity, yeah?
Mhm.
Had Ryan Reynolds in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once again, he's got blades in that one too, but he's not Deadpool.
No, he's not
Wade Wilson.
I think he's got a bit of a mouth, but I don't remember.
Oh yeah, he does. He absolutely does. One of my favorite quotes from that movie was when, I'm trying to remember if it was the gal. I believe she might have hit him or something, but his retort back was, "You cock juggling thunder cunt." And that was my first introduction to that word, actually. So yeah, he definitely had a mouth in that too, and it was those movies were good. It's just that like by the third movie, the feud between Snipes and the director was so bad that he has one scene where he's in a morgue laying on the table, and he refused to open his eyes for the camera. And they had to digitally impose, they did CGI on his eyes to make it look like he opens his eyes on the table. And it's bad. Like if you ever go back and watch Blade Trinity and you get to that scene, you'll see it and you'll just be like, wow. Once it gets pointed out, it becomes so obvious because it's crazy. But anyway, with Wesley, that was awesome to see him back. Jennifer Garner as Elektra was cool. I really appreciated her return to the screen. Although what kind of daggers are those?
I believe they're called SAI. SAI.
Okay, they seem like a really clean weapon, as in like stab, remove. Probably not even going to get any blood on it. It feels like it's got a non-stick blade or something. I don't know. It just seemed it was cool to see her in action and actually messing up baddies too, but I was like, man, those daggers feel just a little underwhelming at the moment with all the rest of this that's going on. And I guess that does lean into a good point you made earlier. This movie was just so gruesome.
Yes. I mean, I'm not against the violence and gore and all that, and I enjoyed it in the first two. It just felt like because it was a Disney movie, they're like, we're just gonna fucking go far.
Yeah.
And it was just every fight, every time it felt like over the top.
Yeah, it was a lot every time. It was gratuitous. I mean, the opening scene is when he goes to Earth 616 to get Logan from his grave, and he fights all those TVA agents and murders every last one of them. And throughout all of that, it was just slice and dice, parts going everywhere. It was crazy. And granted, it was to the theme of Bye 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 from Insane.
That was great. Interspliced with him dancing. Fucking loved it.
It was so good. It was so good. I wasn't expecting it at all. And when they did it, I was like, this is honestly exactly what I need. I think I figured out something about myself with this movie. What'd
you figure out about yourself, buddy?
You know that I'm averse to gore. I don't really care for things that are super gory, which is why I don't really watch horror movies at all, because I really don't care for that stuff. Of course, I can't obviously make that argument when it comes to watching Deadpool without being able to figure out why it's different for me and it works. And I'm pretty sure it's because if it's cut with comedy, it doesn't make it as hard to stomach. Whereas if it's a super serious bit, then it becomes difficult to stomach because you're like, oh, this feels more real and it feels, I don't know, like it gives me anxiety more when it's something that's actually like in a serious context. And when
Sure.
I'm watching it with Deadpool, it's like, yeah, there's a whole lot of things that I can remember from it that are I don't really want to remember, but at the same time, because it was cut with comedy, I feel fine. Like, it doesn't leave me feeling weird remembering it or something. I don't know. It's funny how that works though. Is The Boys funny about a lot of it, or does it get super serious? How would you rate this one on the gore scale? Because we did this last time with a different one. I can't remember which one, but it was like, you were like, it doesn't even compare. And I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, it, give or take at times, but The Boys is far more like gory,
Yeah. Okay.
but it doesn't feel gratuitous in the way it does gore. It is fucking gratuitous. It's ridiculous. Like, people get their limbs chopped off. You know, there's, oh god, there's so much just fucking shit and dongs everywhere, and just, it's all just over the top, but it works. Whereas for this movie, it just felt gratuitous for the sake of being gratuitous.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I
just
agree.
it kept going over the top, but it didn't feel like it was, paying off the way I wanted to.
And the episode where we brought that up was actually the Fallout one. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, I remember thinking, Fallout had its gory moments too. But
Oh yeah,
you were like,
No.
oh yeah, that's not even close.
That's not even close, buddy.
Yeah, it did feel like a lot in this one. And I mean, they had to do it because of Deadpool and Wolverine getting to fight each other. So it was like, you knew that they were going to regenerate really fast. But the one thing that I thought was interesting about that, by the way, all the fighting between the two of them, is that at no point, and mind you, this happened in both Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2. In Deadpool 1, he loses his hand and has to regrow it. In Deadpool 2, he gets ripped in half and has to grow his bottom half back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 down periods where he had to wait for his limb to return before he could continue. And Deadpool and Wolverine are fighting in this one frequently with blades. And at no point do any of them lose a limb.
Nope. Other people do. Lots of other people do, but they never lose a limb.
Granted,
It's lots of stabbing motions.
Can Wolverine even lose a limb? Because it's adamantium skeleton?
I mean,
I don't know how the joints work if they're like adamantium coated as well, but I feel like that would also make it difficult to move.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could have a limb maybe ripped off.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the worst that I've ever heard it get for Wolverine was circumstances like Magneto tearing his adamantium skeleton from his bones. There's a few other ways that I know Wolverine has died in the comics, but
I mean, he's gone through some ridiculous shit to regenerate. There's one comic event I remember where I believe he falls from space. Like,
and the impact kills him?
Suit, and just like burns off everything, crashes into the ground, and then just regenerates from that.
It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
I love it though. I love it. I can't believe we haven't talked about X-23 at all yet. She was definitely a great add to that. Honestly, just all of it, the scenes in general. I was kind of hoping that she was going to go with them, but I guess she just returned to her respective timeline.
What do you mean?
X-23.
Yeah. She's there at the end.
She was just there at the end. So she was there in the beginning and she was there at the end, but it was not the same X-23 from... Okay, there was already one there, so that works.
So the whole shit is... I think it was trying to make fun of things, and it just made it weirder, and they probably just don't care. But yes, Deadpool is in the universe that Logan takes place, before Logan takes place, and X-23 from after the Logan movie, probably by about 10 years or so, ends up in the void, and then ends up with them in 2024 at Deadpool's apartment.
in Earth 10,005?
Yeah. Don't you remember? Like, he
Hmm.
asked about his friends, and then aren't they all there at the table?
So at the end of the movie, he's back with just his like Yuki and Colossus and
Well, so maybe not
Warhead.
all went to the same, but I think X-23 is there, isn't she? Because
Yes.
doesn't Wolverine look at her?
Yes,
They have a little moment.
but I believe that she was also there at the beginning. Let me pull up the trailer
You
real
mean the
quick just to
beginning,
confirm.
like the very beginning of the movie?
Yes, but that's also weird. Does that just mean that, like, because she had nothing else going on for her in Earth 616, that she just decided to come back to
What are you
10,005
talking about?
with them?
She's not from 616.
Wasn't she? She was in the Logan movie,
She was in the Logan movie, which
is
this
616,
movie,
right?
No, this movie establishes that the Logan movie is in the future of Deadpool's movies, so to speak. Because it's the death of Logan in Logan that is causing Deadpool's universe to unravel.
Shit. Well, that makes it tricky to go back and actually, like, since it's still in theaters, can't really.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it
Pay to
again.
watch it again.
I planned on it anyways. It was fun. I did want to see if I could catch some Easter eggs.
Yes, I'd do it again.
So,
But yes, the movie establishes that, like, the Logan movie and the Deadpool movie are in the same universe. Logan takes place in the future of Deadpool, who knows when, and that's when X-23 is alive and after that.
okay, so 616 still has its own Deadpool and Wolverine then.
Well, who the fuck knows?
That's what I'm trying to figure out, right?
Like, we've not seen a Deadpool or Wolverine in 616 as of yet.
And
None
what
of the X-Men
universe does the
movies-
original X-Men movies take place in? Did they even apply as canon?
They never really gave them a number. I mean, there might be a number somewhere. And technically, like, Fox is trying to do all their stuff in the same universe. So,
Yeah.
yes, you could look at it as all the original X-Men movies, X, X2, X3, are the same universe as Deadpool. And then you have
They were the Fox
X-Men,
first.
Days of Future Past, First Class, all that.
Yeah.
In the same universe, but Days of Future Past kind of rewrites the original X-Men movies and gets rid of them, and it's just the new X-Men movies.
Yeah, okay.
Which then,
Okay.
yes, Deadpool takes place in that universe.
Okay.
So
That's still
technically,
confusing.
all the Fox stuff is in the same universe.
All right. That much I can grasp. It does just feel back to the timeline nonsense. It's just confusing, right? So
Yeah, and they made it more confusing.
yeah,
Which they probably thought was fucking hilarious.
Yeah. And I do think that this whole movie was just kind of poking fun at itself.
It was.
In every way.
I think they could have done that, but done it better. I agree. A stronger through line, a stronger story.
Yes, I agree. So actually, yeah, just kind of getting into some of the things we do differently and everything, right? Like, I did not agree with part of the plot being centered around him having troubles with his relationship with Vanessa. They make such an effort in the first two films to solidify the foundation of just their eternal love for each other. And then suddenly we're 10 years later and she's thinking that he's not making enough for himself and he's just a used car salesman. Seems really weird. Like, why? Why would that be the plot line that you'd want to go with? I would want it to, we can't necessarily do the same thing again that was in Deadpool 2, where she gets killed and he has to do something about that in order to, fix it with Cable's time machine wristwatch thing. And then in that sense, like, I'd almost leave it alone. Like, it's not really something that I would want to include. I would probably take that bit of it out altogether because I didn't really see it serve much of a purpose outside of just trying to have some mental anguish at a couple of points, which you could change that into whatever you want, realistically.
I agree. I think you could have kept them together, and he's still trying to save his universe.
Right.
I mean, I don't think it changes anything to have them stay together. It's still a driving factor for him to save her and all his friends and family that he cares about.
Exactly. That's why it didn't need to include the whole, we're not doing great. At least for me, that's something I'd probably remove that altogether, and then I'd have the focus be more on just these are all of his friends, all of the times that he's in any kind of like mental telepathic shenanigans that Nova's doing, that it would just be more about I've got to save my friends. Oh, your friends think that you're going to let them down, right? Like flip that switch to say, instead of it being like, oh, you've let Vanessa down altogether, it's like, no, your friends are feeling let down because their world is slowly deteriorating around them, and trying to get in his head that way, right?
Agreed.
Yeah. I also feel like if you're gonna bring somebody as honestly truly terrifying as Cassandra Nova is in the comics, make it terrifying. Like, give me something more than just her ripping the flesh off of
just like
skin and flesh off of Johnny Torch. Johnny Storm, that's right. It's his bit in that was honestly hilarious. I love that they teased it for so long that he was almost Captain America, because like when they start to like pan up on just his suit and everything, it's red, white, and blue, and Deadpool's all about it, and then it gets very let down when he sees the Human Torch.
But I could see it coming.
Yeah.
As soon as he showed up, like at first I was like, who the fuck is that? And then I'm like, I feel like it's going to be Chris Evans. And then he does. And then I'm like, he can't be Captain America. And then I remember he was fucking Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four, the first two. I'm like, that's probably him. Because it's also just another Fox property. Just that little extra.
Just a little sprinkle on.
So good.
Yeah, it was great. I thought him making an appearance was just fun, and the way that they led up to it was just great, because it's like, if you think about it, there's no way I can imagine a Captain America being in the void, because he's too pure-hearted, and all the TVA are out there getting rid of the troublesome variants.
Yes and no. I mean, they prune just variants and universes that go off track. True. You're right. Probably couldn't, I guess, have a Captain America go off track,
unless you incorporate like the mirror universe theory in the MCU as well, where it's like there's always going to be at least one variant that is an evil version of themselves.
They'd be entertaining.
I do love all the what if stuff. There's a lot of really cool what ifs out there that Marvel does. That's neat. So
I do enjoy the what ifs.
So all the Deadpools there at the end, though, how many did we really get introduced to that they actually gave screen time to? We definitely got Lady Poole.
I mean, depends what you define as screen time, but yes, we see
all of them got screen time.
And there's a lot of them that have like one line.
Yeah,
you have like Nicepool, who is awesome.
And had a lot of lines.
Yes, lots of lines. And the only one who doesn't have regenerative powers, which I found odd. Like, why does he become
right away?
Yeah, why does he become Nicepool if he's a nice guy and has regenerative powers and all sorts of shit? I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, man. But then yes, you have Dogpool, which was fucking hilarious. That dog is so hideous, man.
The dog is hideous, and yet it was like adorable just how, sweet that dog was.
Making out with Ryan Reynolds.
The licking.
Yeah. And then you have Kidpool, and I'm sure they all have names, but like you've got like a Western and a samurai one. Who fucking gets his arms chopped off in little baby arms?
Yep.
Oh, sensei.
So So I guess there was a little bit of regrowth that happened at least one point. Yeah, all of them were fun. I appreciate that there was a little, the little sneak in of Lady Poole was voiced by Blake Lively, which I just thought was sweet. I was like, the two of them get to be Deadpools together.
Which,
but of course,
was also hilarious because I think Nicepool makes a comment about how she's like 3 months post birth and like is all like flat and stuff and in shape again.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure is I think she has given birth recently.
Yeah, I believe they just had their 4th kid.
They have lots of kids.
Yeah, they do.
I wonder he's promoting a vasectomy. Delicious drink.
Oh, the aviation gin one with cranberry juice. Yeah, that one actually is super tasty. I really do enjoy that drink. Yeah,
not a gin drinker, but I do enjoy that.
The few other things that I wanted to mention too is Henry Cavill getting to make an appearance as Wolverine was super awesome. I actually think that he would be a great Wolverine to step in for like maybe a movie or something. It would be fun. We talked about
imposing. It'd be so cool. I'd be down for that. I'd watch a fucking movie with him.
Yeah. Oh, totally. He really was cool. Did we talked about Gambit already? Yeah. Yeah. We talked about Gambit. Okay.
Well, what we should really get into are the changes we make. We're changing Vanessa, making her a better through line, getting rid of the her breaking up with Wade and the issues there because it doesn't not really well thought out, not really well played out, I guess. I mean, it doesn't really make much sense after everything that goes through in 1 and 2. I agree with that. If you want some issues between them, make it because they want a family and they want kids. I imagine Wade doesn't exactly shoot healthy, semen. So make it the issue that they're having is they are struggling to have kids.
Yeah.
Make that an issue that is weighing on him and part of the inner turmoil they have.
Yeah. That would be an easy sell. I don't know why they wouldn't have done that,
Yeah. And it plays into the characters and their overall storyline. I would get rid of the anchor beings because it just doesn't fucking make sense to me. I would, like I mentioned earlier, I would make it so that way the shenanigans that Deadpool has done. So he also has that guilt and, angst there. Went through time and started doing a bunch of fucking shit and has caused his universe to like become unraveled because of that, which has caused Mr. Paradox to decide that he needs to just get the Time Ripper out and destroy it so he can move on with his job. Go to the next universe that he has to like watch over. And from there, I thought Pyro working with Mr. Paradox was just an odd little like thing. Seems out of left field. Yeah. And
just having random communication with him seemed like unnecessary.
Correct. Like what's going on there is like Mr. Paradox supposed to be keeping an eye on Cassandra and apparently he has to do it through Pyro or like what's going on. So I don't know if I would want to spend the time to explain it more so much as I would probably just remove that and I would make it so that way, Cassandra lets them go through, but then out of her own curiosity decides to follow them through and then leads into the rest. Instead of using Pyro's reason why. Like if it wasn't for Pyro being a fucking mole, then she would never have come through the portal.
Or like just jumping through the portal alongside them because the beast of the sky is there to get them and maybe she's not, as easily safe or something to just motivate her out through the portal as well. All of that still could have been accomplished. Everything that led up to that point could have been accomplished without even mentioning Pyro having any connection there. It ties them back in a little bit, but not necessarily. Having Mr. Paradox just discovering that Cassandra's opening a portal, I imagine TVA's got to have something that's going to give him some sort of, or just writing in something that lets the TVA know that, like, okay, this being is trying to leave the void. I can't imagine they wouldn't have some sort of security system in place to trigger alerts. And so I would easily write something like that in, as far as making it so that there's a good causation for, if somebody tries to leave the void, then somebody on the TVA side gets notified, and that's where it could continue that catalyst of action to deal with whatever that problem is. I think at one point too, they said that Cassandra actually could leave the void whenever she wanted to.
Yeah.
And they had an arrangement that they'd let her stay in the void as long as she could, I'm trying to remember that bit a little bit there, but
she essentially could leave the void whenever she wanted to. She chose to stay because she liked it there. I don't think she had any arrangement other than she liked that she could use her powers freely, and the void was essentially under her control.
Yeah. And that makes it pretty terrifying, but also, and I guess it makes sense that she just chose to live in the void.
Yeah.
Because why not?
I found it odd that apparently the Deadpool Corps serves her.
That's what I was. Yeah, when I was talking about all the Deadpools, I thought it was weird that they were all there to fight back. I was like, okay, so we're just seeing a bunch of Deadpools fighting a bunch of Deadpools, which, don't get me wrong, for an action sequence, it was very cool. And I don't know if you noticed, but they managed to sneak a little Stan Lee cameo in there too. He was in an ad on the side of the bus.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Yeah. But it was just very sudden and unexpected. I wasn't really counting on a Deadpool v Deadpool fight. So
yeah, there's no reason for it. It just felt odd. If you want a Deadpool versus Deadpool fight, maybe they, are jealous that he's going back to his universe, and so that's why they follow him to fight him. Because it's not fair that they're in the void and he's not.
I could also
Deadpool can be jealous.
I could also see them just being there as allies instead, right? Although I will admit that it plays out funny enough that it was an okay scene and everything because of Poole.
Poole was pretty great.
And the fact that he was the one that just steps in and he's like, wait, everyone. And then they all just stop. They start giving him literally all of the praise.
Well, because every Deadpool has a Peter.
Yeah. And can we just acknowledge that Poole initials are PP? Come on. How?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why we got to be like this? He was great, though. I really appreciated him.
You know why.
And absolutely would keep him in there. Wouldn't do a thing with him. But maybe instead of having the big Deadpool fight like that, or maybe just cutting it down a little bit, I would honestly be happy to take a minute off of that scene just to make Wolverine and Sabertooth's fight a little longer than it was, because it was less than 10 seconds. It was so disappointing. This was earlier in the movie when they first get to the void and they're dealing with what is essentially a Mad Max looking scenario. And then we get to see Wolverine and Sabertooth facing off against each other from a distance. And the next thing you know, he's decapitated. And you're just like, what? And Deadpool plays it up. He gives the fourth wall break. He's
love that.
Everybody's been waiting for this fight. Everybody's looking forward to it. And then they did that. And I was like, okay, while it was a good joke, at the same time, it felt like a big old middle finger to the audience.
Yeah. Well, I would have loved a joke about, where's the Liev Schreiber version or something. but then he grabs the head and does like the speech from Furiosa or whatever.
Yeah.
It was so fucking good.
It was really funny, but it was also just that I would have extended out. I would have cut out like at least a minute of the Deadpool Corps fight and moved it back to give Wolverine and Sabertooth a little bit of a justifiable fight there, because it was great that they got the original Sabertooth to actually reprise his role, but then he didn't really get to be there for very long. So beyond that, though, I don't know. I just feel like there needed to be something. The movie did carry its weight in action, comedy, and even some pretty serious moments. Like there were some moments where I felt some amount of emotion about what was going on, i.e., X-23 talking to Logan and the whole "you're the worst Wolverine," but she's like, but you're still Wolverine, like you got this, was essentially the back and forth. And so it covered all the bases, but I feel like it actually could have benefited more from some of the more serious tones for a little longer in certain spots where it just otherwise felt like they were just glossing over it to gloss over it.
Yeah.
So that would be most of what I'd probably rewrite there. What about you?
See, I think I covered everything. I do feel like the ending was not unsurprising and was a bit of a cop-out with them both being able to survive.
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised by it.
Till he's 90.
I know. But at the same time, like, oh God, I don't know how I would change it. I don't know if I could change it. Like, it works and it's kind of perfect in a way, but it's so fucking ridiculous. Also, so fucking ridiculous that his shirt fucking explodes off him.
Yeah.
Just his shirt. Helmet still on, pants still on. Maybe I would have had like Deadpool's pants explode off so you could see like his boxers with the Deadpool face or whatever on them.
Yeah.
Because that would have been just hilarious.
That would have been great, honestly. That would have been really funny. Oh, yeah. I could see that. And they did it. They did it for the audience. Sexiest man alive. How many times did they refer to him as Hugh instead of Logan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fourth wall breaking was ratcheted up.
Oh, big time. There was so many moments where he turned to camera, and I wouldn't change a bit of that. That was all really fun. I do think that it did make it so you felt a little bit of dissociation from it at points, because I kept trying to like not have the two blend together. I kept thinking like, oh, look at Hugh go. Oh, I mean, look at Wolverine go. And actually the last thing I want to touch on is how great it was to see all the costumes. All of the outfits were great. I love seeing Wolverine in his original animated series styled Wolverine suit. Gambit in his original
blue and yellow.
Yeah.
See, I loved one of the universes he goes to get Wolverine is OG brown and yellow, and then Hulk fucking smashes the shit out of him. That was great.
Yep, that was great. Yeah, and like I said, Gambit's fit was really cool. I thought that they did a great job with emulating what they had in the original series, even if it doesn't. I still don't get what the headband does. I don't know if it's just a style piece or if
Gambit
it actually,
headband.
Yeah,
it's just fucking gear. It's weird. Don't ask questions.
I was just
channel his fucking energy. It's just a weird like face neck piece. Maybe he's got like issues with supporting his neck when he fights. I don't know.
Could be. I loved Blade's fit was just the classic fit. Elektra's fit as well. I really appreciated that they called back to the sunglasses that X-23 was wearing in Logan. She puts those on right before the final fight. And I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Just all around, it was fun, man. One of their highest grossing openings overall, which I thought was incredible. I mean, last I checked, it was over 81 or 85 million.
I think it's made like $500,000 so far, hasn't it?
Oh, wow.
One day ago, 820 million.
Yeah, 824 worldwide.
630 million in its first full week of release.
So it was the fact that it made the 211 million in its opening weekend, which actually surpassed its budget by 11 million.
Yeah.
The movie had a $200 million budget.
They had a lot of people to pay. A lot of cameos.
That's not even like the craziest budget, though.
That's fair. I mean, Acolyte had what, $280 million budget or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Granted, that was almost 6 hours worth of content instead of 2 hours. So
it doesn't fucking make sense.
Yeah. The Avengers Endgame had a $356 million budget. And it, too, also nailed its budget back in the opening weekend. That movie made $2.8 billion.
Yeah, it made a ton of money.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Anyway, I really enjoyed the movie. I think that they are pushing it a little bit with potentially feeling a little burnt out if they don't kind of change the flow of things a little bit for like future sequels and such. Like, make the stakes a little higher, give us a little bit more, big boss stuff, and I think we'll be all right. But if they just keep going with the comedy and gratuitous nature, it's gonna grow old.
It'll get old, but people I'll still see it, but who knows? It wasn't meant to save the multi-universe. It was meant to make fun of it, and I thought it did a great job at that. I think it could have done a bit better. And some of the ways that we've talked about it, I feel like would have tightened it up a little bit, made a little bit more sense.
Yeah. So definitely go check out Deadpool and Wolverine. Yes. It's fucking awesome. It's just fun.
A great movie.
It's just fun if you're looking for something entertaining, albeit a little bit over the top. It's just fun. So
sadly, the popcorn bucket was not available where I went to watch the movie.
Yeah, we only had the cups. There was no popcorn buckets either. They probably went pretty quick, but
I would imagine.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us this week on another episode of We're Too Literary.
If you haven't already checked it out, go watch Deadpool Wolverine. It is coming recommended. Then come back and leave us a comment. Let us know if you agree with our changes, if you think we're off base and it's perfect as is, or if you have some ideas of your own you'd like to share.
Yeah, if there's any Marvel buffs out there that want to totally let us know about anything we missed in the comments, that would be awesome, because I love to learn the lore. And don't forget, you can find us on all the major podcast platforms and right here on YouTube. If you're listening in, please give our show a rating. And if you're watching, don't forget to like and subscribe.
We truly appreciate you being here with us, exploring this film, and listening to us share our takes.
Thank you so much for tuning into We're Too Literary this week. I've been your host, Kenny.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye now.